Hey everyone, so I thought just to finish off the day I would do my talk on not necessarily John Maxwell, but on how we studied to become spiritual directors. And one of the things we looked at was movies and how we can find the theme of Christianity through movies, and looking at the Christ life, so the birth of a situation, moving into the life of it, and then the suffering, death, and resurrection. And one of the movies that we looked at was the Columbine movie, the shooting at Columbine. And because I came here from England, and before that Zimbabwe, I was kind of shocked. I had never heard of this. I guess on the news, wherever I was, it didn't make the news. And every time you turn on the news here, there's another school shooting, there's another home shooting, there's another situation happening where innocent people are getting hurt. And we never grew up like that. So it was very shocking for me. And especially when it's children ordering these guns online at home, printing them at home, and then going on a shooting spree. It was very shocking to me. But you see that need in them, that need for social acceptance, that need for power, that need for acceptance, and how these two children started off watching video games. And these video games were all about shooting and killing, and then they wanted to copy that. And how their parents didn't even know when they ordered those things. So it's very disturbing. This last shooting that took place at a Christian school was very, very upsetting for me. And I couldn't sleep that night because for me, coming from somewhere like Zimbabwe, I just wonder what is it in the children that makes them turn to this, because they're not being taken into gangs, like they're not being taken into Boko Haram and brainwashed. They're doing it, and it's very, very difficult. It's very difficult to find the hope in that situation, to find the strength, to find the love to move forward. But that's one of the things that we have to do and that they trained us to do. And today, meeting with a colleague, meeting with somebody for lunch, that helped me. Because when you're on your own and you have all these situations that you're watching unfolding, it's very, very disturbing. And it's so nice to be in community with people, to talk with someone, to have fellowship with someone that knows you. And it was good for me to see Vicky today and to share the time with her, and to not be on my own, and even to go to the church, to go to Mass, and to find that healing for myself. Because although I might not be in America, it still affects me, because the same thing is happening here in Canada. People's homes, there's drive-by shootings, and it's very disturbing. But finding that strength, finding that love of Christ in that situation is something that I have to do, and it's something that all of us can do, to find that resurrection hope, to find that hope of new birth. And it's not easy, but it is possible. So I wanted to reflect on that, and also at this time of the year, quite naturally, I think of Zimbabwe. I think of how I grew up, with our beautiful black tie events, with our dinners, with our community, and it's a lifestyle that is gone now, which is very sad for me. Because here, yes, you can go to big events, you can go to your annual New Year party, watch the ball drop in New York, or go out, but it's not the same as having those people that we grew up with, that we love, that we knew that we were together with. And we make new memories, we create new memories, and we enjoy them. And that's where I find the hope for me. It doesn't mean that I don't miss what I had, but that's where I find the hope. And also in situations where things are tough, things are extremely difficult, we don't, what we used to do in Zimbabwe, which Canadians do, we all make something and we bring it and we share it and we get together. So even here, when I go out to people's homes or I go somewhere, I will take something. I'll take a dessert, I'll take a bottle of brandy, I'll take some wine or snacks or something. If my friends are coming over and I really have more than enough, I'll tell them, don't bring anything. Next time when I come to your place, then, you can provide everything. So we are not backward people. We are not uneducated people. We are not people that need to be taken to the police station for nothing. We have our own traditions, we have our own values, we have our own standards. And we grew up with very well-respected communities. We know about decorum. We invited mayors to our homes. We invited government officials to our homes. And we had respectable parties, and then they left. And they in turn invited us to their town hall meetings, to their gatherings, the same way they do here. And I think it's important to remember those threads of where we have things that are similar, because that can help us with our continuity. We went through very, very tough times in Zimbabwe, times where we didn't have food, we didn't have water coming out, we couldn't flush the toilets, and those are things that I don't take for granted in Canada. But it is very hard, especially for people like us who are migrants. We're out of work, we're looked down upon, people treat us like we're stupid, and we're not. We've been through very difficult situations. We've grown up in homes without fathers. We've grown up in homes where, we watched our mothers being disrespected by the community or by people, even the police, and now we are going through the same things instead of things changing, which is sad. And we're not going through it in Zimbabwe, we're going through it here in Canada. But unfortunately, that's how it is sometimes, and we have to still find that hope, that faith. And if we are in a situation like me, where even if we're invited and if we're not comfortable, we can just not go. For me, I like spending my Christmas at home. I like going to church, I like coming home, I like waking up in my own bed, and that's what I enjoy. And also the weather at this time of the year in Canada, it's unpredictable. So I will get together with my mother or whoever, either before Christmas or after Christmas, and we have to play it by ear, even in those cases, because around this time of the year we have squalls coming up, we have snowstorms, we have a lot of things that can change very quickly with the weather. But I think for those of us who are migrants, there's a lot to adapt to, there's a lot to get used to it, positive and negative, and we can remember what we had, we can be grateful for the good times, and we can take those to our prayer, as well as the struggles. We can pray with those as well. But there were very difficult times. There were times we didn't have food. There were times we went to bed hungry. There were times where our neighbors used to feel sorry for us, so they used to send us food because we had nothing. Sometimes we didn't even have petrol for the car. So we had to get a ride with our neighbors, or if somebody was going and they saw us walking, then they would stop and pick us up and give us a lift to town if we knew them. But those are the things that sometimes we look back in nostalgia and we say, oh yeah, those were the good old days. But there were a lot of things that were very hard in them. There were a lot of things that were very difficult in them. And there's a lot of things that are happening in the world now that also happened then because we're living in times of war. And that's just something that struck me with this latest school shooting. Every time you turn on the news, it's like there's another school shooting in America. And in Canada, there's another drive-by shooting. So it's very scary, very scary. But at least we have friends, we have people we can keep in touch with, we can reach out to, and we can build our communities. There's people who we meet at work who over time become friends, and that's also a blessing in our lives. And I think that's what I focus on at this time of the year, and that's what I love. I mean, if our countries were okay, many of us would go back. We would not be living in Canada. But unfortunately, things don't seem to be getting better in our African nations, in Nigeria, in Zimbabwe. A lot of places you have the very rich, and then you have the rest of us, and that's how Canada's becoming. If you don't get into a government job, or you don't get into a banking job, you don't get into a contract that's going to pay you well and last for at least 4 or 5 years, most of us are in the same situation. And it's across the globe now, because that's what they implemented. That's what they wanted. What they did when they had the world meetings and World Bank and all these things, that's what they said. You're going to rent and be happy. You're not going to own anything. You're not going to buy anything. And a lot of us said, this is rubbish, because it eventually means you're not going to have anything in your family. You're only going to have people like the Bilderberg Group and people like that who have come up, who have been tapped on the shoulder, and whose families are being protected, owning property and getting first-class travel and doing all these things, and the rest of us are going to be basically slaves. Like how they bought the World Cup for FIFA and how they boasted about it, they filmed it, and they said, well, that's what happens if you want to have the labor, then this is what we want, cheap labor. And the Human Rights Watch and all that, well, they're like, well, they can do whatever they want, we're not going to care. And that's why we have these situations coming up with the drive-by shootings, with the school shootings, because they're creating it. They're creating a world where this is what we are getting. Just like they made hard drugs legal, they brought in marijuana and they started selling marijuana products. They wanted it that way. And people like me who stood up and said it's not going to work, and it's going to lead to more problems, more mental health problems, more situations that are going to affect children badly. We were the ones who were called out, and we were told that we were not with the program. We were delusional. We were not thinking right, because we didn't side with the big pharmaceutical companies and the decisions that were made by these corporations and by the ones who set this up, this great reset. Well, no, they're retired now. Charles Schwab, he's gone now, so he created the mess and he's gone. And people like me are suffering because of it. Whose fault is it? The Vatican is bankrupt now. It's bankrupt. Because those of us who are working are earning so little, we can't even pay our rent. We can't even get food. People are going to the food banks in Canada by the millions. The food banks can't cope. And they're paying some people are earning big salaries, and the rest of us are earning peanuts because they're treating us like monkeys. And then they wonder why. There's a good movie called Skirt. If you can get it and watch it, you can watch the movie on Columbine as well, and you can see what's happening. But more people have to stand up to it. More people have to say no. For those of us who are here, who came here from Africa, we are frightened by what we are seeing and what we are experiencing. and what Canadians are putting us through. It's very frightening to be taken to the police station without even people talking to you. They just report you and the police just come and haul you in or summon you. And the people who are doing all the money laundering, killing police, doing drive-by shootings, what's happening to them? They're just living their lives. It's a sad situation, but we always have to hold on to that hope, and like Robert Kennedy said, that tiny ripple of hope that things can get better, especially for us, for women and visible minority groups and people that are living on the margins. Because what they are creating today is something that people like me stood up to. And we got laughed at, we got belittled, we got told we were stupid, we got told don't come into our homes and argue with people. That's what happened to us. And we even got told when we asked for help, can you please help if there's a job in your company, or we're looking for a room to rent, we got told go to the church, go and ask your church. Or we got told before I give you the job, I will contact my son and I'll contact my son's girlfriend, and I'd rather give it to them. I don't go to people's houses like that anymore. You can be nice about it. You can say, sure, Belinda, if something comes up, I'll keep you in mind. And you can just not get back to me. That is a more gentle way and a more polite way to do it, instead of being rude. Even if you invite me back to your house after experiencing something like that, I won't come. Why would I put my life in danger when I know how much you despise me and how much you actually hate me? Why would I come back to your house? I wouldn't. It's better to keep my distance and save my life, and you live your life. You take your son and your daughter and their girlfriends and boyfriends and put them in the company. But eventually, God sees all. And eventually things change. Because there'll be too many people going through the same pain that I was going through from the time I came here, like is happening now. And the change will have to come. The same way it did in Zimbabwe, the same way it did in South Africa with apartheid. The change will have to come. I don't know how many souls have to be lost in the process. And that's the sad part. But those of us who are using our voices are going to continue using our voices, because we want a better world. And we want people who respect us and who have some decency and who have some ethics and who live the Bible values. And if you don't go to church, that's got nothing to do with me. That's your choice, not to believe, not to go to church, not to follow Christ's way. And it eventually will come back on you. Because there's every religion in the world, even if they don't believe Jesus is the Savior, they acknowledge you as a prophet, as a leader in the community. And it's that Christ presence that changes things. And without it, what's happening in our world today is going to continue happening. And you can like it or you can lump it, because I don't care. My life is centered on the one who saved me, and that's Jesus. And who led me there? This guy on the wall, Elvis Presley. And that's why he was hated. You can like it or you can lump it. I don't care.